Mårten Frankby. In November, there is a special focus in promoting Swedish literature in the world. What are you doing from the embassy in Moscow?
Well, we try to do as much as we possibly can, and we've been lucky so far in so much as in October and November there are quite a few literature events going on all over Russia. And as you know, it's a quite big country from the west to the east. So what we normally do is that we try to focus on existing events, such like book fairs, exhibitions, and we have now in just 1 week coming up the big book culture fair in Krasnoyarsk in Siberia, where we will fly over to Swedish youth authors, kid authors, children's, it's an author and it's a children's books illustrator, Jens Ahlbom and Stefan Kasta, and we will do a Nordic common project. So we'll work with our Scandinavian and Nordic neighbors and have a special seminar day about Swedish and Nordic children's literature. This will be aimed mostly towards librarians and the big Siberian audience. And this will stretch over 4 days, so it's quite a big event. And after that, we will go back to Moscow, where there will be in the middle of November the Poetic Biennale, where we will have a Swedish poet that will do some readings and a live reading in television together with a Norwegian poet. Towards the end of November, there's the big non-fiction literature exhibition in Moscow, where we will have 2 female Swedish writers that will meet audience and do a seminar together with other Nordic authors also.
Russia is a nation with great literary traditions and a huge book market. How has the interest for Swedish books changed during the last years?
That is a very good question. I could speak about it at length, but shortly I would say that we have a very favorable situation in Russia where the knowledge of Swedish culture, especially literature, is very high. And due to the activities of the Swedish Institute, which started in the mid-90s, it's a big and interested audience, and we have a lot of very qualified translators and teachers of Swedish. So I would say that the literature interest has been quite constant. However, the various interests has, so to speak, changed. We could see that the interest for criminal literature, it has been basically static during many years. That is because there is a constant output and translations of Swedish criminal literature. When we look at children's literature, which is another favorite subject of ours, we can see that interest is growing. And we think that this is due in part to a new generation of Russian parents that in their turn, they have been brought up in a very traditional way with very traditional literature. And now they're interested in looking abroad what kind of quality children's literature there is. And fortunately, Sweden has a very big output and a very good production of high quality children's literature. We do see that there is room for improvement when it comes to non-fiction literature, translation of that into Russian.
Can you mention some of the contemporary titles that have been translated into Russian?
Well, of course, when it comes to criminal literature, we got all the big ones, of course. We got Stig Larsson, Johan Theorin, Camilla Läckberg, Håkan Nesser, and all the other ones that you already know. When it comes to children's literature, of course, there's Astrid Lindgren, of course, goes without saying. But about the contemporary ones, I would say that Sven Nordqvist is among the most popular. We have Annika Thor, Ulf Stark, Stefan Kasta, and also Pernilla Stalfelt you would find among the popular ones. When it comes to non-fiction translations to Russia, you have a less production so far. We have Steve Söderberg, we have Bengt Jangfeld, and some books by Henrik Fexeus.
Last question. What kind of services and advice can the embassy give to publishers, agents, and Swedish writers?
Say the biggest and most important advice to literature agents and companies and writers as well: do not be afraid to come to Russia. There's a huge market. There's a very well educated market with a lot of interested readers. And I would like to add also that please don't just concentrate your interest and your travels to the big cities, to Moscow and St. Petersburg. You have an enormous country, a continent with a lot of big countries where there is a very interested audience that's just waiting for you.
Thank you very much, Mårten.
Thank you.